Good morning, everyone, and welcome back for day 4 of the reading of the book Guru Leela, Grace That Heals. Before we begin today, let us invoke the Mohanji Gayatri Mantra. ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात्। ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात्। ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात्। I'm reading a chapter which has a title, A Friend for Life, a Devotee in India. I am a believer of karma and have always tried to do good and be good. Worshipping idols was something that came to me only as a ritual instilled by my family. I had never believed in the concept of a guru in human form, and I would like to attribute this belief to my childhood experiences of a human guru who was revered by my parents and many of our acquaintances. My parents could never convince me to revere him. By the grace of God, my instincts didn't fail me, and I did not have to experience what the others did. That chapter closed when he left his earthly abode. My regards stay with him for sparing us. At the age of 44, I was caught in a whirlwind of a depression attack, a very severe one at that. Frankly speaking, my husband and I were ignorant about the implications of depressions, its cause and consequences, till my condition worsened so much that I had to be taken for a medical examination and was diagnosed with depression. What caused it, I still don't know quite well. Maybe it was an amalgamation of hormonal imbalance, the stress of life, the stress of taking life too seriously, striving to be perfect, and more so expecting others to be perfect. God has showered His grace on me many times, has bailed me out of many tough situations, and this time was no different. My then new neighbor, and now a bosom friend, guide, and a mentor, had taken pity on my depressive state and had given Mohanji's iCard to me. I would have preferred to, but actually couldn't say no to an ardent request made by her to look into those eyes, courtesy my childhood experience mentioned above. But when life shoves you into a ditch, whether you like it or not, you want to bounce out of it by any means. After I recovered, I was lucky to get a chance to meet him for the first time in 2015 in South India at a satsang. I cannot frame in words the overwhelming feeling of being in the presence of someone who I had not met before, not spoken to, yet something within was churning and swelling tears without any reason. I was warned by my friend that something like this may happen, and I had intentionally laughed it out. But I had wet so many tissues that day. It's been 4 years since grace started flowing through those eyes, and it continues. I started believing and revering Mohanji at the very instant I bounced back to life. But the mind has always sowed a seed of doubt. For me, it was really Mohanji? or the medicines that worked. I even bothered him by asking, "How do I know who you are?" He said, "You will know tonight." He came in my dream, showing his back to me like a dark silhouette, but showing me the face of Shirdi Sai Baba. I remember this so distinctly. Barely 6 months after having recovered from the first attack, I suffered another attack the following year. I had happened to meet Mohanji again at the end of the second depressive state. I asked him, "Why again?" To which he replied, "You will get another attack next year." I was shattered to hear that. I had missed hearing the most important part, heard by others in the room, that it would be mild and it would be my final clearing. And so it was. It came back again, it was mild, and I managed to do my daily chores with a certain amount of difficulty, but not like the previous two episodes, wherein I was left handicapped in all possible ways. Guru walks into one's life when the disciple is ready and needs him the most. So I have read in Mohanji's blogs. This holds so true in my case and to many others who have known Mohanji. Many address him as father, but he has been like a friend to me, joking, cajoling, and explaining life like a story. No serious business. He opens his arms and takes anyone in his embrace and knows who is asking for what. To quote a few examples, here I go. Knowing that I am not consistent with my spiritual sadhanas, he has worked on me and made me do all the practices through my friend acting as a conduit of energy flow. She remained as my neighbor for 3 years till I recovered completely and have now shifted away. I take it as a sign that I am now fine. Hence, the conduit has been withdrawn from proximity. Mohanji graces many households with his footsteps, and I have always wished the same for my household. Since the likelihood of physical steps is bleak, he appeared in my meditative state, sitting right in front of me on the sofa, and later merged into the frame of Sai Baba, which I have in my drawing room. I have seen him as tall as a mountain while taking a dip in the hot spring of Badrinath. He has appeared when I prayed for my mother in law, who was hospitalized with severe Parkinson's disorder and hallucinations. She has miraculously recovered to take care of herself. Very recently, I got a chance to meet him at the consecration ceremony of a Sai temple by a Mohanji disciple in South India. While Mohanji was standing near the homam and was flanked by people all around, I had shut my eyes and was silently sending prayers to him to help a school friend of mine who had misunderstood me and was going through a lot in her personal life. Tears had started to roll down my eyes when my friend patted me on the back and directed me to look at Mohanji as he wanted me to look at him. He smiled at me in acknowledgement, and I was left smiling back at him. I immediately realized it was a signal that he had heard my prayers. My friend is now a trained Maitri practitioner, and she continues to guide me and clear me with Mohanji's energy. There are many instances wherein I have felt his presence and grace. I have now come to believe that suffering is a sign of clearance of past baggage and that there is sunshine behind the clouds. Guru helps to speed up the process. My heartfelt gratitude to Mohanji for coming into my life at a time of great need, offering unconditional love, healing, and protection. A second story titled An Extended Lease, a devotee from the United Kingdom. I I identify myself as someone who is deeply connected to Skandavale and Mohanji. I do not distinguish between them both. For me, simply the differences are the differences between a mother and father, or the left and right eyes. Since connecting to Mohanji, quite a lot of positive changes have happened in my personal and professional lives, simply because of a major transformation within me. Yes, my acceptance level has increased significantly with Mohanji's, and I handle many situations that would upset a typical human being with ease. In general, my level of detachment has also increased day by day. So I find navigating through life relatively easy. In early 2019, I had lost quite a lot of weight, and all my friends and family asked me the reason behind it. I was also experiencing night chills and fatigue, but I was feeling very positive and was not bothered about it, getting on with my daily life as usual. I was not aware of a big test coming my way at that time. Following Mahashivratri, I was briefly ill and went to see my general practitioner, a family doctor. The GP suspected a possible urinary tract infection and prescribed some antibiotics and ordered some tests. After a week, the test results came without any indication for infections, so she referred me to a urology consultant under a fast track arrangement. I was still not worried at all and went to see the consultant happily, hoping that everything would be fine. He examined and reassured me there was nothing to worry, but suggested some tests, including a CT scan and a procedure to send a camera inside the bladder to identify any potential issues. I was very positive as usual and drove to the hospital for a test on Friday, the 15th of March, without expecting the shocking news that awaited me. The cystoscopy showed a tumor in my bladder. He said that from previous experiences, it was almost certainly cancerous, and we should remove it as soon as possible and see how far it has spread. He added that it appeared to be at an early stage, but he could only confirm further details after the surgery. This was indeed very distressing for me. The face of my wife and my two young children, one as young as 3 months, came to my mind. I was shocked, didn't know what to do, but drove back and shared the news with my wife. The next step I did was the stepping stone for me to write this story now. I sent an email to the Skandavel Swamis and also a message to a close friend who had introduced me to Mohanji and requested him to convey this news to Mohanji on my behalf. I collapsed emotionally, crying for no reason and felt very low. On the following day, 16th, it happened to be a full moon weekend, and we decided to go to the Divine Mother's full moon puja in Skandavel. On arrival, the Swamis asked me to come and sit in front row, and they all made a sankalp that Mother's energy should heal me. In her hand, she carries a lingam, and in situations like this, the Swamis would bless the sick person with that lingam. I was aware this lingam was materialized in the mid 80s during meditation in Skandavel from the divine hand of late Swami Premananda as a healing lingam. Since then, this lingam has been in the Divine Mother's hand, and only during the full moon Mahabhishekams, the Swamis take it from her hand and bless the needy people. I've heard about many healing stories related to this lingam and met a few people who have been healed by its divine power and energy. As far as I understand, it is not something that we can request to have, but comes our way if we are eligible. On that day, the Swami who led the puja took that lingam and placed it on my forehead, the third eye, and the top of the head, the Sahasra, and blessed me. I felt immense energy during the blessing. Once the blessing was finished, he immersed the lingam in a bowl of milk, and I saw the milk bubbling up immediately as if it was boiling. At this point, I said to myself, if my lease is extended and I come out of this, I would dedicate the rest of my life to serve the world. After the blessings and having handed over my burden to the Divine Mother, I came back home feeling very relieved. When I arrived home, I saw that my friend had forwarded me a message from Mohanji. It read, I am with him. I'm reducing its intensity. Feed the birds, fishes, and animals and do Annadan. I'm with him. Seeing this message was immensely reassuring for me. I immediately started feeding the birds like a sadhana most days before my breakfast. I also started to carry some wild bird feed in my car so that I could feed birds wherever I found them. After a while, I started to enjoy feeding and watching them. I was beginning to feel a little relaxed after receiving both blessings from Skandavel and Mohanji's comforting message. I had shared the news with some of my close friends within the Mohanji family. Needless to say, they were all shocked as well. However, two of them decided to come to my place. I live far away from many of the Mohanji family members and did Maitri many times. I received the first Maitri on Tuesday, the 19th of March. I had my CT and completed CT scan completed by this time, which confirmed the tumor but showed that it hadn't spread to the other parts of the body. My consultant had scheduled the surgery for the 30th March. I went to the hospital chanting the Mohanji Gayatri. While in the operation theatre, I closed my eyes and continued to chant after speaking with the anesthetist. When I was back on the ward after the operation, I realized I had gone under sedation chanting the Mohanji Gayatri. In the afternoon, the consultant visited me and confirmed that he had successfully removed a tumor which was 3 centimeters in size. He further said it appeared to him as a typical early stage bladder cancer, but he could only confirm and decide the treatment plan after the biopsy analysis. I came home and struggled with the post operative recovery. Two of my friends from the Mohanji family came back again and did Maitri. At the beginning of one of the healing sessions, the practitioner came towards me, went back a couple of steps, and then came back near me again. At the end of the session, he had something to reveal. He said, when I came near, I couldn't see you, but Mohanji was sleeping on the bed. I couldn't believe it was confusion as to how I was going to do Maitri to Mohanji. But then he said, go ahead and do the healing. So I came back. You have nothing to worry. He's taking care of you. I was shocked to hear this and wondered if I was eligible for such grace. It was indeed a reconfirmation that Mohanji always does what he says. He was with me. I had another revelation the next day. Mohanji was in Peru at the time and was suffering with some breathing difficulties and illnesses on the same day I had Maitri. This was circulated in one of the Mohanji WhatsApp groups, and I started crying out of gratitude reading this news. I strongly felt that he was taking on my pain and was suffering as a result. I had my follow up appointment with my consultant 3 weeks after the surgery. The results of the biopsy were available by this time. The first thing my consultant said was, you have to thank God. The results came as non conclusive. The pathologist could not make a firm conclusion between a very rare benign tumor and an early stage cancer. The benign case is extremely rare with a possibility of less than 1 in 100. So we should assume it's as cancerous and plan accordingly. The good news is it appears very superficial and has not invaded into the muscles yet. It is contained within the superficial tissue layer, which is a surprise for me based on on its size and the symptoms you have had losing weight, fatigue, night chills, and blood in the urine. You don't need any medication or further treatment unless it returns. So I recommend a follow-up test in 3 months and 1 year and take it from there. I came home very much relieved and full of gratitude to Skandavale and Mohanji for healing me. According to my understanding, a cancerous tumor had transformed into a benign one, which made the pathologist confused because the tumor was expressing both the patterns. I immediately sent a message of gratitude to Mohanji through my friend. I also went to Skandavale the following weekend and thanked the Divine Mother and the community. After a couple of months, I had attended a retreat with Mohanji. It was one of the bigger retreats with around 100 people in attendance. On the first instance, Mohanji called me by my first name and asked me, how is your health? I was pleasantly surprised to know that he remembered my name. Mohanji has thousands of followers in the world, and I am one of them. So I was not expecting him to remember my name and other details. It was another reassurance for me that he meant what he said. I am with him. A month after the retreat, I had my 3rd month follow up with the consultant who confirmed that no abnormalities were found but recommended another test in 9 months to make sure the tumor had not returned. I sent a message to Mohanji with my friend and he replied almost instantly with the following message: please tell him to get Maitri. I immediately contacted one of the Maitri practitioners who did a distant Maitri and a session one night. At some point during the session, I felt like someone was pressing hard on the top of my head. After the session, the practitioner shared that she saw a silver colored snake protecting me around my head and at one point blessed me by pressing its wide hood on me. She further said that she could see some dark spots like a cloud above my stomach area but there was a silver lining across it, and it had cleared by the end of the session. This was indeed another assurance for me that the tradition was looking after me. Time passed quickly, and I have had my first year checkup on the 29th of January 2020. The consultant who completed the cystoscopy and said, "Everything is 100% normal. You have nothing to do. I don't think I need to see you anymore, so I'm signing you off." I can only say, "Thank you, Divine Mother, and thank you, Mohanji." My life in the past year is yet another confirmation that the grace can heal if we surrender to it completely. Now I'm enjoying an extended lease because of my mother Skandavel and my father Mohanji, so I dedicate this life to serve the world to the best of my ability. Here we come to the end of Guru Leela 3, Grace that Heals. End of day 4.